Hi, everyone. My name is Anna Horn, and I'm a digital co-lead at All4Birth, and I'm here with Fatimah. And Fatimah, do you want to introduce yourself?
My name is Fatimah Mohammed. I am a midwife and mother, and currently pregnant. Um, and yeah, just I advocate for cultural safety, but also environmental safety.
Amazing. So congratulations on your pregnancy. Um, we've had conversations before about your interest in environmental safety. And one thing that we connected on is your love of cloth diapering. Can you,
Love is a strong word.
if you can love changing nappies, you're right, that is pretty strong, but there's some passion behind why you made that choice.
Yeah.
And if you just want to share with that passion of why you made that choice to cloth diaper.
Yeah, sure. I think it started before I fell pregnant, before I think so. I developed an environmental sort of consciousness because I was taught as a child that Muslims are in on the earth to look after it,
Mm.
and I've always um, taken sort of my faith and caring for the planet as synonymous with one another,
Mm.
and yet I was also brought up in a capitalist society where use of cars and consumerism and yeah, just consumerism and status equal to spending was quite interlinked. And when I sort of started looking after myself a bit more, I was quite aware of how consumerist I was leading.
Mm.
And it was when I was sort of learning a little bit more about the impact on animals, the impact on climate change and global warming, but also like our future and how we have like a selective sort of blocking out of how impactful global warming is,
Mm.
that I felt that it's there's zero time left to waste, and I've got to make some kind of change. However, I'm quite aware that I myself as an individual make can't stop climate change. I
Yeah.
can't change it, and really the onus is on big global corporates, and but also like I do feel that there needs to be a kind of societal shift in being more in tune with the tides of the earth.
Yeah.
There's a spiritual element to it, to just live life more in accordance with, just being aware of like how the sun sets and
Mm.
just like, just have more an appreciation for the moon. That's just things like that. And rather than having this blindness to how much we take from the earth and not give back, it's really toxic. It's a
Yeah.
really toxic relationship humans have with the earth, and it didn't always used to be like that. We used to be stewards.
Yeah.
So like the Native Americans, they were stewards, and they're not respected for being stewards of the earth.
Mm.
And now the reason why there's so many wildfires is because their advice and their culture has been stampeded upon by settlers,
Mm.
who have now taken so much, and now the earth is kind of like suffering for it. But really, the earth will survive. It's us that are not going to be able to survive with it.
Yeah. Wow, you touched on so many different elements there, like such gems, and we could probably talk for
For
hours
hours.
about the
Yeah.
about social about environmental justice and how how we treat the earth often impacts the oppressed and the most vulnerable among us.
Yep.
Um, so
And it will
that,
have the most serious consequences
yes,
for the most oppressed, for
yes,
people of color, and
yeah,
in the third world.
yeah. So that is, yeah, so that is really, really powerful. And that also kind of as I've gone through my journey of just being more aware of what we're using, what we're putting our money towards. It really lends its hand to my kind of social activist mind, and I can see how it all interlinks with our oppression and
Yes.
survival, and what I find interesting, particularly with environmental justice and kind of environmentally conscious decisions, is that I don't know if you've heard the phrase that we don't inherit the earth, we are borrowing it from our children. And I wonder if there's something about, it's not intrinsically, but perhaps, at least for me anyway, having children made me more aware of and more environmentally conscious. For me, so I just had a baby about 3 months ago. And I remember when my first daughter was about 2, and I was changing her nappies on the floor, and I was using disposable nappies because that's the norm in our culture. And I looked at the pile on the floor and I was like, how many of these are sitting in a landfill? And I realized, how many nappies have I changed over the past 2 years? And I kind of made the decision that this time around, I'm going to just do it differently. It doesn't have to be perfect, but do it differently. What was you mentioned that your kind of environmental awareness happened before you had children, but what were moments that kind of clicked for you in terms of your parenting choices around,
Well, you know what you said really resonates with me, because when I first fell pregnant with my daughter, I actually kind of had like a moment of panic where I was like, is it ethical to bring a child into this world when it's virtually doomed? And she's going to have to see wars. She might face wars. She might face food poverty. She might face financial insecurity. Is it ethical for me to do that? And I was speaking to a friend of mine, and she said, Fatimah, like, yes, we need to change the world, but we need to carry on the human race as well.
Yeah.
Like, not having children isn't the answer. And I also there's a lot of really ugly debates around like having lots of children and poverty and selfishness, and really there's no space for those conversations when it comes to justice of any kind. So I did have a moment of panic, and I just thought, but I really want to bring up my daughter and any other children I may have to carry on the work I've started, even though I think it's kind of wrong to try to bring up children so they continue your legacy. It's kind of like, but like, I really want there to be hope for the future. And I think having hope for the future is raising your children to be conscious of environmental justice and also cultural safety. And I think that two of those are combined. And so I was trying to think, okay, everyone kept telling me that having children is expensive. And it was a kind of abstract idea. I was like, I don't know why it has to be expensive. And so when I was thinking of options, I was reading about nappies. I just knew that I did not want to constantly throw away. I really wanted to have like a low waste childhood for my child. I want to have a low waste sort of home economics. I knew that like buying nappies to throw them away continuously was just not in line with the ethos of the household that I wanted. And so I was looking into cloth nappies. I was looking into biodegradable nappies. Biodegradable nappies quite expensive. And also it's still in line with a throwing a wasteful kind of impact, even though I think it's much better than regular nappies. yeah, I was very fortunate to be able to afford a lump sum to buy enough cloth nappies.
Mm.
And I'm very fortunate to have had enough money to buy those cloth nappies so that I could save money in the future.
Yeah.
And that's where I think capitalism really screws people who are hard up, because like it just squeezes more money out of them than had they had enough money to begin with to like buy good quality stuff that would last for a long time.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, obviously we've had to use the washing machine a bit more, but I'm more comfortable using water
Mm-hmm.
than continuing to build plastic
Yeah.
onto the earth, because the earth is not our rubbish bin. You
Mm.
know, like there are resources in this earth. There is enough for us,
Mm-hmm.
and like we need it to survive. And I'm happy to do that if it means washing my daughter's nappies.
Yeah.
I think that's an ethical use of resources, and we're not wasteful when it comes to water. So yeah, just, I mean, it's not a more. I'm not trying to make it like a moral thing.
Mm-hmm.
I just think like it's more in tune with how I want to be spiritually.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we bought some cloth nappies, and it was a hard journey. I mean, the first couple weeks, I was a bit nervous, and I was using biodegradable nappies because I couldn't tell if she did a wee or anything like that. So
Yeah.
and she was I mean, obviously they're quite small, and sometimes cloth nappies don't fit them at that age. So
Mm-hmm.
I was just, yeah. And then my husband was like, "When are we going to start using the cloth nappies?" I was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
Just needed a bit of like, just a little bit of courage. But he just asked out of like a genuine like question, like, when are we
Yeah.
going to start? Not like realizing that I was kind of panicking a little bit inside, like quite kind of scared of the change. And there were so many changes happening. But I was lucky to have support, and also just I looked at cloth nappies as an investment.
Yeah.
I spent a good amount of money on these nappies. It's to save me triple the price
Yeah.
over the course of her nappy career, and it's wasteful of me to not think of investing in that.
Yeah.
So yeah, investing doesn't have to mean like buying stocks. Investing can be buying cloth nappies.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it was financial and spiritual and environmental, really.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. You touched on a few things that a lot of people find in their, oh, so I have a bit of a, do you hear a bit of a echo?
And no.
Okay, maybe it's just me. So yes, you touched on a few things that people find in their cloth nappy journey. So first of all, a big barrier is the up cost price of buying nappies. And I, as well, that was something that for me, it was something that I was able to make that investment up front. Well, it took like through my pregnancy, even before pregnancy, buying little bits of, when we were trying to conceive, I was like, oh, this is cute. Let me buy this nappy, and I'll buy that nappy. And then by the end of the pregnancy, I'll have a stash of nappies to use, for my son. And a lot of people talk about that as a barrier. And what I found of like looking on Facebook groups and that sort of thing, that people resell nappies, and that there are different ways to make them kind of more affordable. So it's not necessarily buying kind of this, I don't want to get into the nitty gritty of the different kinds of nappies there are to buy. But I just want to share with viewers that there are a range of nappies, reusable nappies that you can buy, and doing a bit of research and seeing what's more on your budget, buying little by little might help. And I really have a philosophy of, it doesn't have to be all or nothing, that even if you're using one cloth nappy a day, it's better than, not using any at all. And that was something that that lots of people find, as being a barrier. The other thing that you mentioned is using that kind of beginning stage of, they're too small to fit into the cloth nappy, but what do we do? And I found that as well, that yeah, sorry, using disposable nappies was something that we did until we just kind of got the confidence to really use the cloth nappies. And I
You could
found,
just use a muslin.
yeah,
You could just fold a muslin, um, things like that. Or
yeah.
yeah, but I think there should be programs where you have like nappy libraries,
Mm,
or like it would be awesome if like maternity units had like just like a stock of like donated cloth nappies, or you know, secondhand cloth nappies, because
mhm.
that would make things a lot more accessible.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I wish, it was more kind of common. Like you don't walk through a store and see cloth nappies, do you? Like no, well, you do.
Unless it's like the expensive shops, and
Yes,
that means
yes,
they're targeting to people who can afford it. And
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I have seen that you can get some in Aldi. I've seen some people, maybe that's in America.
No, we have Aldi
Sorry.
here.
Yeah, well, I mean, but I haven't seen them in Aldi here, but but I don't know if that's in Aldi in America, but the audience is global, so check your local Aldi for cough nappies. But yeah, I think it's starting to pop up in some places, but it's still a bit tricky to find. For me anyway, I found most of them online. Um,
Mhm.
so, and I guess the power of seeing them, like when you're walking in the store, for example, it's kind of normalized. I don't think many people think, I didn't question with my first daughter. Um, well, I thought about using cloth nappies and someone said, oh, well, it's lots of washing. And that
Yeah.
kind of knocks my confidence. And I just went with just, disposables. Yeah.
Yeah. And also like there's a culture of how you parent.
Yes.
Like I remember someone asking me when was I going to switch to formula feeding.
Hmm.
And I remember it was a young person that asked me, so like I do not blame her in any way
Yeah.
for asking that kind of question. But it just resonated with me that like because you've brought up seeing how parents and aunts and uncles have well, not necessarily uncles, but yeah,
Mhm.
how your family have like risen children, which is you know, disposable nappies, which is mostly formula feeding, you know, and which is yeah, little things like that. um the idea of change is really challenging to implement, not just in
Mhm.
yourself but in just like in society generally. And I think there'll always be fear when it comes to change as well.
Yeah.
And it's not just fear of changing, but like fear of what people will think as
Yeah.
well. So I did get a little bit of resistance to cloth nappies. And I think it's because a long time ago it was the norm.
Mhm.
And so disposable nappies was considered the new and the higher tech.
Mhm.
So why would you you know, reject a modern phenomena?
Mhm.
Um, uh, which is where we connect status with consumerism.
Mhm.
And yeah, yeah, so it's like when you're trying to explain all your reasons, you know, you just lose people sometimes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's a journey, and if you're on that journey, you're more likely to listen.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, one thing I've learned just being a mom is just do what you think is right and
Yeah.
don't listen to anyone else, because your child is different, your style of parenting will be different, you are different, so
Mhm.
you have to just make decisions what's right for you, and obviously with your partner. You know, and don't listen to every single voice that comes to you, because advice is limitless.
Yeah, that's true. It's interesting that you mentioned the different reactions to cloth um, nappies for you, because even so, I'm originally from America, and even when I mention it to people back home, that I'm using cloth nappies, they go, "Oh, well, that's what we used to use," like as in their parents cloth diaper them, and so they sort of valued it. They saw it as something as going back to the old school ways of of parenting, and they kind of they like the idea. And then they see how different the cloth nappies are now. And, you know, there's different prints, there's different options, you know, that, you know, some of them are made to look and work the way that disposable nappies do, in the sense of how you just kind of put them on and take them off, and there's not pins and that sort of thing. It's interesting to hear that some of the reactions that you've heard from people are different. And I'm sure lots of different people can share different stories about the reactions that they get from people.
Yeah. I think it's because I tend to launch into it with so much enthusiasm. I'm like, I'm cloth napping, I'm cloth napping. So like, I'm washing so much.
Yes.
I think most people, I don't know, with my enthusiasm, most people don't really know how to react, because I'm just very, very enthusiastic about certain things. Yeah, most responses I've gotten is kind of like blank.
Yeah, why would
Blank
you do that?
stare.
Why
Yeah.
washing alone? Why would you do that?
Why are you giving yourself more work?
But yeah,
It's the
exactly.
same with like carrying my daughter. So I've
Yeah.
only recently stopped carrying her on my back. And that's just because my pregnancy's made it too difficult for me to do.
Yeah.
But really, why shouldn't you if you still have the strength?
Yeah.
So like, honestly, like, yeah, why, if there's nothing to stop you from doing what you feel is right for you, then why stop it?
Yeah. I think a
Yeah.
lot of that comes, you're touching on a lot of interesting points here about just the confidence in your parenting and your mothering. And I think this time around, because I've had, you know, one child before, I think with this one, I'm kind of you know, the first time I've kind of fumbled and found my way, and my quiet voice of like, this is what I want to do, this is what feels right for me, particularly with making choices to breastfeed, making choices to co-sleep. You get a lot of backlash about those things. And this time around, it was just, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
And so cloth diapering, nappying kind of fell into that category, as well as this is what we're doing. I'm interested to hear from you. How did your partner react or engage with the cloth diapering? Because yeah, I have stories about getting
Oh,
on the
really?
same page.
I'm really fortunate. My husband's really supportive, and I think he has a lot of trust in me, and I think half of it is because I'm a midwife,
Yeah.
and I think the other half is because I'm female,
Yeah.
and well, I'm a cis woman, and
Mhm.
traditionally he's seen cis women do the raising of the kids.
Yeah.
I mean, like, yeah, we've had conversations about how he will contribute to raising the kids, because
Yeah.
I think a lot of men who've not seen other men do it don't really know how to think about it themselves.
Mhm.
But when it came to cloth napping, I did mention it to him, and it was something that was really stressing me out before the birth of my daughter, because, and I don't think, I think I only got them when I was literally like 37 weeks or
Oh,
something like
wow.
that. I really left it really late. I think it was all the options was a little bit overwhelming.
Mhm.
But I did have friends that knew about it and stuff and directed me, and I just decided to like just buy from one brand and
Mhm.
like just get them new and stuff like that. Yeah, when I mentioned the financial aspect to my husband, he was like all for
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think because he's not seen examples of men doing child rearing, he wasn't really aware of the work that would come with it.
Mhm.
But he's been really supportive about that, and like, yeah, I think the first time he actually properly used the washing machine was to wash my daughter's nappies.
Oh, wow.
Really, before he'd like put clothes in the washing machine and then like not switch the start button, things like,
Yeah.
just because he was just so clueless about things like that. So
Yeah.
like just trying to get him to do it's like quite an uphill journey. But when my daughter came along, he just switched.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was, yeah, which is saying something, because during the pregnancy I don't think he really realized we were having a baby, because
Yeah.
he kept talking about, yeah, and it was only when she was born it was like, oh my god, there's a baby.
Like, yeah, I've been
Yeah,
saying that the whole time.
yeah, why do we keep having conversations about getting a cat when I'm pregnant, that sort of thing. Yeah, so he was very supportive, but I think the financial aspect of it,
Mm.
was the seller, really.
Yeah.
And it was, I mean, it was a bonus for me too, because women are not really taught how to be financially stable and financially secure.
Yeah.
And we're not taught how to invest in ourselves and invest financially and invest in safety. Safety as in like financial safety.
Yeah.
And it's because historically we've not held the purse strings.
Yeah.
We've not earned our own money. And so now that we've earned our own money, we've not had much tools except capitalism telling us that status equals spending.
Yeah.
Which is why we end up, and a lot of us like end up just being out of control and spending far too much on clothes and accessories.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just I really, yeah, I didn't grow up with a lot of money, and so I was, when I was in charge of my finances, I still am obviously, I decided to like really be quite, I think, yeah, be quite in control of them. To be
Yeah.
fair, being in control of my finances is a big thing for me,
Yeah.
a big thing. And so when it came to having a child, I was like, why does it have to be expensive? It doesn't have to be expensive. We can get secondhand clothes, which
Yeah.
makes sense because they're not in it for very long.
Mm-hmm.
We can get good secondhand clothes as well, because the theory is that secondhand clothes are all rubbish. Actually, they're not. You can get some really good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's cloth napping, there's not cloth napping, and then there's breastfeeding.
Yeah.
Bingo. We literally, I think the first time we actually went to the baby section of the supermarket was to buy my daughter some like crisps,
Yeah.
like when she was like a year and a half old. Before
Oh,
that, we never needed to go. We never went there. We didn't, because
amazing.
I also knitted my own cloth wipes.
Mm-hmm.
So we would like use water to clean her. I'm like, why am I using a wipe? I'd never use a wipe for myself.
Yeah.
I'll just clean her with water like I clean myself.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I washed the cloth wipes with the nappies. So yeah.
I wish I was able to have this conversation before I had my first child. It's just so much wisdom, because I think like with having a baby, you're just fed the baby needs this, and this, and you're given all of these clothes from people that mean well, but like stuff that they wear, once and then never again. But there's some huge lessons, and what I've been having conversations with other moms about eco-friendly choices and parenting, like breastfeeding and having secondhand or pre-loved clothes. And you're right, like it's very interesting. The choices that we make that's good for the environment is also good for ourselves, whether it's for health reasons or financial reasons. You come out a bit better on the other side of it. And that's not to knock some of the challenges that some people might have with breastfeeding or investing in cloth nappies, or the trauma of having secondhand clothes. Because I mean, when I was growing up, secondhand clothes were not trendy. And I feel like it's only since the middle class has adopted these habits of being trendy that you're seeing it kind of be seen as more acceptable.
Yeah, I've noticed more people are like, yeah, I got this from the charity shop. And
yeah,
how, I've noticed that too. And yes, it's become trendy. But also, like, I think maybe since the middle class have become more environmentally aware,
yeah,
because they've led a lot of the environmental movement, but that means that they're not. I think that there is a lack of awareness of what it means for working class people.
yeah,
And also like I just wanted to mention how I think you can't be perfect. No one can be perfect.
no,
You have to just do the best that you can and
yeah.
acknowledge the privileges that you have that enabled you to be where you are.
Mm.
And try to do the best that you can, but also like appreciate that when people try to I don't know, people, if yeah, like I kind of got a little annoyed that I got this gift for my this this what am I talking about? This clothes for her, and she was only able to wear it once. But it's also just their expression of love.
Yes.
And I think just appreciating other people's expression of love, that is a beauty as well.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I think my brain just fizzled out.
No,
What I'm going to say.
Yeah, no, that's all right.
Yeah.
So kind of bringing things to a close, is there something like that, maybe some advice you would offer to someone who's thinking about doing cloth nappies, or something that you wish someone would have told you, or some tips or tricks, anything that you want to share?
Okay. Right.
Family.
So, okay. I would say, if you're gonna buy them, if you're gonna buy them new, then it's cheaper if you buy them in bulk, because you get a discount to them.
Mhm.
That's if you're able to. So maybe, so I think I must have spent. How much did I spend? I think I spent like £320 for 20. I still have 20. I toilet trained my daughter when she turned 2, because I was like, I've had enough.
Yeah.
And I know it's early, but she was able to communicate and stuff. And also, I was pregnant. I'm not going to potty train while I have a newborn. It's not happening.
Yeah.
So, and also, like, using the toilet is quite environmental in a weird way.
Yeah.
If you're not thinking of all the gallons of water that goes. But yeah. So yeah, I would suggest buying them in bulk if you can. If you do want to buy them in bulk, then maybe you can have like a savings journey to help to build up that money to be able to buy them. Otherwise, you can get them quite cheap secondhand. And the thing is, they last. They do, like, if you're going to get them secondhand, get a good brand, because then they last longer. Because remember, they're getting washed quite a lot. So if it's not a good quality brand, the likelihood is that the wear will take effect a bit more potently. I'd also suggest that you make sure that you strip wash them. So basically, because they keep getting washed so frequently, the soap residue resides in them, and it stops it reduces the absorption of the nappy. And my daughter ended up with a bit of nappy rash. So I was like, what's going on here? So if you just stick them in the washing machine with no soap and rinse them, just put them in the wash with no soap a couple times, it tends to get rid of all of the soapy residue, which works wonders. Some people put like other stuff in there to try and reduce the soap. I just strip wash them every couple months. And in the summer, it's so much easier to dry them. In the winter, maybe invest in going to the laundrette to dry them. If you don't have your own dryer, but you have to be really wealthy to have your own dryer, because the electricity is a bump, and the electricity prices have gone up so high. It's stressing me out thinking about it. It really is. Don't buy too many nappies, because then it affects how long it will take to dry. So it's a delicate balance. You'll figure out what works best for you. 20 was good for me, but I think, looking back, I'm going to buy a few more for this second baby, because I know it'll just be easier, because in the newborn period they use up a lot of nappies. Later on, they don't use up as much nappies. So cloth wipes, excellent. Why do you have to pay £1.50 every week for wipes? I know it sounds like really frugal, but you look after the pennies and they'll look after you. And also, like if you were at the supermarket and some blueberries were £1.50 discounted, you'd go for them. So why is it that you're still willing to spend that same £1.50 in a wasteful manner? So just because so basically certain amounts of money. I'm sorry, I know I keep talking about money.
No, this is great. I'm like taking notes.
Like if we had say a car that was £1.50 cheaper than this exact same model that was being sold at a different shop, you wouldn't think much about which shop to buy from. You don't value that £1.50 very much, which is which is weird, actually. We should be valuing that £1.50 no matter in what context it is, because they do add up. So yeah, just look at how you can parent and live your own life less wastefully and more resourcefully, and more in tune with the tides of the earth, and it will be good for you. It will be good for your children.
That's a beautiful place to pause the conversation. Thank you so much, Fatimah, for taking time to speak with me this evening.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. I'm getting like excited now.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm getting excited for the next one now. I honestly thought, oh, I'm so glad I potty trained her, and now no more, I don't have to wash the nappies anymore, and like the cycle of every 3 days is not there anymore. But actually I am looking forward to it, and I feel good about it now.
Great.
Yeah.